Peace and light, that old guy, Australia. Like, share, subscribe on Instagram and YouTube. And hit the notification button if you want to know if I'm doing a video at any point. And you can follow me here on Facebook if you like as well. You'll find me there if you look hard enough. There's a number of things I'd like to address, but one in particular, and I'll get to the others in videos shortly. Now, first of all, I want to apologise for the video I posted yesterday. I've never melded videos together, and I've got so many, like many of you, thousands of them, and I'd love nothing better than to do, like a phase in, phase out into the next one, into another bit, an excerpt from this one, a bit from, this, a bit from that, and phase in and out, and make some videos that people can use, to show they haven't got to sit through a whole damn movie. They can look at little bits that are only, 30 seconds to 2 or 3 minutes long, and kind of like shorts, but I just put them into a movie kind of format. And so that's one of the things I'm going to be looking at doing this year. Now, I apologise for that movie. It was worse than amateurish. It was bloody terrible. And I spent so many times bugging around it, and you'll hear me cough at one point, and Leanne's banging drawers at another point. So, I thought, oh, what the hell, just stick it up there. I couldn't be bothered getting rid of it and whatever. So, but I promise you this year I'm going to up my game and do a little more different versions and presentations, and that will happen. But no thanks to Sutherland Shire Council. Our future is up in the air. We are still struggling with the council to complete our project, and that project will determine our future. So it's a huge thing, and thanks to all our friends and supporters, both here and overseas and everywhere else, where you've sent us messages of hope and love, and we really appreciate it. Honestly, it's my God. I was talking to Jo the other night, and she came down for a few days, and we were just sitting there and we said, I don't think we could go through this ever again. It's just, oh God, what a nightmare. Doing a build in this current economic climate. And so anyway, suffice to say, our auction date has been postponed for some time, and we're just going to concentrate now on getting past the council, who've probably cost us, we estimated, in the vicinity of probably 200,000 they've cost us. Just insane amount of money. We've had rate rises. Should have been finished last year at the end of October, and here we are, end of January this year, and we still haven't got permission to put a frickin' driveway in. You get no idea. It's just, I don't want to go into it. Anyway, that's all you need to know. Now, I was talking to a mate the other day, and actually it was a group of us, and we're talking about why is it, well, two things really. One is that the amount of truthers that share stuff with truthers, and it's kind of like, it almost reminds me of a church. Bear with the analogy. Christians go to church and they hear a message and they go, oh, wow, isn't that fantastic, da, 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 and off they go. But I always use that phrase, preaching to the converted. It's like they're not the ones that need to hear it. It's the people who aren't at church. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm saying you're sharing this stuff amongst us. And no offence to anybody, but I'll get the same video 20 times from around the world, from friends. And if friends are in the same bloody group, with a group, maybe there's, a group of maybe 20 to 40 or whatever might be the case, I don't know, whatever. And then they'll send it to me again. And I'll post it to that group and then send it to me, because apparently I didn't see it over there. I need to send it to me. But in the meantime, they'll send it to a mate. And that mate will go, wow, I need to send this to Owen. So in the group of just my friends, I'll see it 10 times, and I'll see it another 30 times from other people and random people from around, whatever. And so when you get, as I do, and I say this, like, upward of 1,000 videos and messages a week or more, maybe more, it's really hard to go through them all. It's so hard, and so many I have to just ignore and watch a few seconds of and go, oh no, I've seen this, or wiped it off, or whatever the case may be. And I don't mean to be rude, it's just how it is. And I don't have the time for this. It's such a full-on thing. And I appreciate them being sent, but in the end, a lot of them, the relevance is only about 30%. The other 70% of things that are irrelevant to me or what I'm looking to focus upon. Anyway, be that as it may. The other thing we were talking about was why it is that so many people are still refusing to see the truth as it's unfolding. And a couple of reasons came up, and the first one I'll address very quickly, which is the fact that we're on alternative platforms. If you're not on Telegram and Rumble and WeChat and friggin', well, not WeChat, but what's the truth thing over there, Donald Trump platform? If you're not on certain alternative platforms, you don't get the information. You don't see the videos, you don't see the stuff that's being released because it's not on mainstream. And most of those people out there who are not a part of this are on mainstream media, right? So they're not going to see any of this stuff, and I mean none of it. So when you hit them with here's a video of an undertaker getting blood clots, they're like, well, come on, seriously. It's kind of like going to learn to drive and you get in a Ferrari. It's like, you need the Commodore first. You need the little shit box. So you've got to start somewhere low and start low. Hit them something that has not a lot that they can argue with. It's just something like, oh, wow. Like with the video Safe and Effective Second Opinion, where he says in there, and he talks about reading from the documents of Pfizer, where it says that the effective rate of the jab was known by Pfizer to be 0.83%. So this is the kind of thing, like, not 98%, not 95%, 0.83%. So this is the kind of, in our own trial, so this is the kind of shit you've got to talk about, not this other stuff, not, graphene oxide and barium in the air and, it's kind of, okay, get them back to kindergarten. The second thing is a thing, and I'm no expert on this, and if you'd like to comment on this, please do so in the comments below. Write some of the stuff that you might want to write and discuss it openly. I don't really mind if you don't want to. Send me messages. Okay. Anyway, I don't know if you know of a thing called social bias. Now, I'm probably not going to give this the credit it deserves because I'm not a psychologist. But I've watched a number of videos on this and did a bit of research on it because it's a fascinating subject to me, and I think I'd go back and do psychology if I had my chance on Earth again, and who knows what may happen in the future. So here we go. But social bias. Now, social bias is it's not cognitive dissonance in that respect. It's not really like that. Think of it like this, and this is not the best analogy, but it's probably one of the best ones I can think of. If you go out spotlighting rabbits, and you get into a field and you stop the car, you turn the spotlight on, you wave it around, and there's a rabbit. You hit him with a spotlight, and he stands dead still. In fact, I went with some Indigenous people out through Walgett, northwestern New South Wales, many years ago, and these guys were on the back of the truck with us, and they were amazing. They'd be off the truck in a flash, and by the time the light had hit the rabbit, for literally seconds, they'd come up behind the rabbit and just grab by the back of the neck, run back and put it in a bag. And they had a big pen back at their camp, and they just fed the rabbits and kept them there, and then cooked and ate the rabbits as necessary for the community. But they were just grabbing these rabbits and they never moved, and I was like fascinated by this right back then. So the idea is that when the light hits the rabbit, it just sits dead still. It's kind of like a fight or flight thing, but it's not even that. We call this kind of social bias in a sense because what happens is the rabbit has this innate kind of nature that it knows that predators' eyes pick up on movement. So if it just sits dead still, there's a good chance nothing will happen. If it just sits dead still and doesn't do a damn thing, it just sits there, there's a chance nothing will happen and the predator will go past. Yeah, it's kind of like that. And this is what we have happening in society today because we have been absolutely smashed for the last 100 years or more. The world has been absolutely smashed. And now you don't have to believe in God, you don't have to believe in the devil. I really don't particularly care. When I was watching Andrew Tate's video, when they asked him, the world's most powerful influencer, to get the Kardashians, when and he's under attack for attacking Greta Thunberg and the WEF, but nonetheless, I don't care what you think of him. The point being that when they interviewed him and asked him why he believed in God, he said, I had no choice but to believe in God, because when I went and looked at how much evil there was, I could not believe that this would go unpunished, that there was not a comeuppance, that there was not a day where those people would answer for what they were doing. And so that to me was a yin and yang moment where I realised if that much evil exists, there's got to be that much God. There has to be a God who's going to judge these people. They are going to have to pay for what they've done. And I thought it was a pretty good answer from a previous atheist. I thought, great answer. And it kind of sums it up in a very common term or terminology, and I like that. I like that very, very much. The social bias within the community that we see now, and certainly within society, we have been smashed the last couple of 100 years, more than ever before in history. And the point is that people are being worn down. We're like those rocks tossed around in the ocean. There's no sharp edges anymore. We're not able to cut. We're not able to fight. We're rounded. We're worn. We're just smoothed off. We're malleable. We can be used in anything that the corporations and the governments and the elite want to use us for, except for those who are willing to fight back. And I want to put myself in that category because I've made that determination, as has Joe, that nothing that's done or said is going to stop us from continuing to fight against what we see as corruption and evil. And I think when the extent of this is exposed, as I said to a lady this morning, a lot of people are just going to collapse at the horror of the truth of what's been going on behind the scenes. You've seen the video with Jim Caviezel discussing child trafficking and adrenochrome, and Jim Caviezel is no idiot, and he's a tremendous Hollywood actor. And those are the kinds of things when I say we have people within the truth community making these blanket statements which annoys me. Oh God, does it annoy me. I can't even tell you how much it annoys me, but God, it annoys me. When they say all Hollywood actors have sold their souls and they're all part of the... And I'm like, that's just ridiculous. It's the stupidest comment you could make. In fact, it makes us look stupid by you saying it. It's idiotic. Like, oh my God, Guantanamo Bay has been increased by 5,000 acres and they have hangings every week, and all public officials are cyborgs or friggin', transgender people, and, all this stuff. It just goes, oh my God, it does my head in. It really does my head in, NESARA GESARA, and I'm watching a wonderful video by, I can't think of his name, makes no difference to me anyway. This morning I was watching, I sent it off to Kimmy Kennedy and asked her for her opinion of it, and she will have a chat with me this afternoon. But it's on Inspired TV. You can see that on YouTube, Inspired TV. Fantastic stuff they do. Max Egan's over there and various other people. And they have some great stuff. And he discussed this particular subject, he's one of the founders, in great detail, and it resonated with me. Because what he basically said was there's all this stuff going around about NESARA, GESARA, Guantanamo Bay hangings, clones, bloody whatever, all this stuff, AI. And he said, we get sent thousands and thousands of these every single week. We have teams going through this stuff, and he said there's so much of it there. And he said, really, when you look at it, you would have to be hopeful. You'd have to look at it and go, well, I hope that was true. I really hope that was true. That sounds great. I really hope that's true. But the problem is, as he explained, we get teams of researchers on this stuff and we can't find one single thing to back any of it up. We cannot verify a single thing. So it becomes hearsay and it becomes fodder for the truthers who want to go right down that limb and go right over there. And who knows, in time to come, maybe they'll be proven true. We don't really know. But all we can focus on is right at the moment, sitting over there yelling this shit is helping nobody. It's not doing a damn thing for anybody other than making us look like idiots. When we can work towards that, if that's indeed the case, and we can work on what's in front of us now, and we can start putting forward information that people find relevant to the now. That's what we're looking at. And you'll see Project Veritas is working hard on that. What they've done with Pfizer was absolutely freaking brilliant. Now, I don't care what you do with, think of Novak Djokovic, or sport for that matter. This whole blanket statement again, all sports stars are paid shills and it's all a distraction. I don't give a rat's ass what you say. It makes no difference to me. God created us to be sports people. A lot of wonderful Christian people are involved in sports, unless they're, of course, shills for the devil, and they're sold out to the, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. What is wrong with you people with this idiocy? Anyway, and I love my sport. I've played sport, I love my sport, and I understand the dedication and the commitment and the athleticism and the strength and the courage and to make it to those kinds of levels is way beyond anything I had. And I was a pretty good sportsman, but I never had the ability to go up those rungs, And that's the further up you go, the less people can make it to that end. And this whole crap about Djokovic, I swear to God, I don't even want to say this, but I'm going to say it because I read it on people's posts, and as far as I'm concerned, I'll just get them out of my bloody friends list. About this is a 66 title that Djokovic's won, and he insisted he wanted locker number 33. None of this it's all hearsay, by the way, because he's a 33-degree Mason, and he's involved in tennis is 3 sets of 6. Oh God. I'm so sorry I said that one. It's just, oh my God. It's the stupidest shit you've ever heard in your life, honest to God. And people believe this. That's the thing that worries me. What really worries me is people put it out there as truth, and they're a part of our truthers community, if you want to put it like that. And look, I've said this before, feet are no different to the hands, no different to the eyes, the ears, the mouth, the nose, the brain. We're all parts of one body, but we're all different. I understand that. But I've got to stay away from that stuff. It's very negative. It has a negative energy. It does no good to anybody. It's not opening any eyes. It's doing nothing. It's just making truthers look like total idiots. That's what it does. Focusing on the now. Let those people rant and rave over in the bleachers somewhere on their own, the back beaches of nowhere. Anyway, social bias. And this is what we've got with people today, certainly in our society, where people are so bashed around, they've been so beaten down that they just don't want to know. And when they say they don't want to know, it's like a spiritual not knowing. They don't want to know. Inside them, spiritually, they don't want to know. They can't deal with it. They don't have the strength. They don't have the tenacity. They don't have the hope. It's just gone. They've just been beaten and beaten and beaten. And we know that that's the goal of all this. And so they think if they just sit still, if they can just sit still, if they can just ignore it all and just go about their lives and not make any sudden changes or sudden movements, it'll all just disappear. And sadly, we know that's just not the case. In fact, it's getting worse and worse every day, and some of the legislation that's brought in or being brought in is absolutely outrageous. I had a friend went to go and buy a fireplace in Western New South Wales yesterday, and they were told by the people selling the fires that the government was looking at legislation whereby they would only allow fires to be burnt for X amount of hours per day. Now, in Europe they've got, and in England in particular, where the lower rungs of the economic society, the socio-economic society, only the lower ones are all being destroyed by legislation that has produced gas shortages, electric shortages, higher power prices where they can't afford to do this. There's lots of old people suffering and dying. They're spending money on utilities. They don't have food and they're dying from malnutrition and hunger. They're pulling them out of their homes like you wouldn't believe. They're not telling you about a lot of this, but I assure you I'm not talking shit. It's what's happening. And this legislation is all part of this push for a green movement to save the planet, while the elite who have trillions of dollars, unlimited funds, can go about and do whatever they want to do. Fly their private planes to Davos and whatever, have chauffeurs and whatever they want to do. And Bill Gates, if you see Bill Gates lately, he most certainly looks like he is feeding in the right paddock. Fat as a fool, sloppy and fat. Dr. Bill Gates. So social bias is one of those things where a lot of people are just too scared to make waves. They don't have the strength to do it. They just go along with things because they just think, if I just go along. Remember the start of this pandemic where they said, if we 2 weeks to flatten the curve, just 2 weeks, and everyone's going, for God's sake, just 2 weeks. Can we just stay inside for 2 weeks? I'm telling you, just do it, and it'll all be over. And all of us truthers are going, no, you don't understand. 2 weeks will turn to 2 months, will turn into forever. This is what's going to happen. They will never, ever, ever back down when the government takes something from you, they don't give back more than they've taken. They always push themselves forward for their own benefit. There's no coming back, which, as I discussed with the Aboriginal Voice to Parliament, was exactly what they're doing there, and I'm so sorry that Indigenous people are being fooled by this and thinking that the government suddenly cares and they love the Indigenous people. And what's happened, really, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, I've said this over and over, this is my truth, it's not the truth, it's my truth, is that the Indigenous people have posed the biggest threat to the government that they've ever faced. And the government has been made aware of this by the spin doctors and by the powers that be and the controlling interests around the world. And this is no different than in America and other countries. The Indigenous people pose the threat because these are unconstitutional governments. They're illegal governments. Watch a wonderful video on Canada's illegal government the other day. It's brilliant. It's no different than America with their government, which is an illegal government, unconstitutional. It's no different than Australia, which was removed in the 70s from the Commonwealth of Australia to the Corporation of Australia. That's a fact. It's not bullshit. It's not conspiracy theory. It's true. People just don't want to look at it or believe it. So they just think that the best way for them to deal with the Indigenous people of Australia is to control them by giving them this pseudo voice in Parliament and saying, look, we're going to change the Constitution, which once they change the Constitution, it'll go to a referendum. Believe me, if you think you've got a vote in the referendum and we're going to say no, you know, this is planned. I can assure you, and I'll say it right now, that this is how it's going to go. This will push through, despite the no vote and the no voice, and some very high-profile Indigenous people coming out and saying, no, we don't want this. It's the end of everything if we do it. And I fully support what they're saying, like Jacinta Price. So, you know, this is how it's going. You know, it's like the art of war. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. They know that if they can control the Indigenous people of Australia, they can keep their corporational government of Australia, and the Indigenous people will not any longer pose a threat and will no longer be able to usurp this government, and they know it. And they're setting about making sure that they put this tether on the Indigenous people of Australia so that down the track they can't be removed from office. That's what they're hoping to do. They will be, but that's what they're trying to do. And unfortunately, it's they're using the emotional side of this to try and push this through. But I assure you, this is not the idea of the Indigenous people, and it's not the idea of Albanese or Morrison or anybody. This is something that's been formulated and passed through all the governments of the world where there are these Indigenous people and issues, and this is something they've brought about. They've been told this is what you've got to do, and they've brought it about. As Warren Mundine calls them, blacktivists, and the government of the day. The government of the day is just a puppet. So that's my opinion. Social bias, it affects them as well. They're also thinking if we can just do this and we can just get this, then we're okay. We can just sit here and everything will be okay. It'll bypass us, and look, we're going to wake up one day and the beautiful sun and those horrible clouds I've been talking about won't be there, and the chooks will be laying again, you know, and the vegetables will be growing again, and Bill Gates won't own most of the farmland in the world, and you know, they won't be eating crickets and bloody bugs and shit in school cafeterias and all this stuff. But I assure you, this is only the start of their game, the very start of their game. We've seen it in England with the climate lockdowns beginning. They've already put in bollards and things in places like Oxford where people can't leave their city, and at night time people are going out and vandalising this. There's protests organised. They're going out and taking these bollards down and smashing them away so the cars can go through. This is what's happening in England. You've not been shown this. You know, they've divided places like Oxford and Oxfordshire up into areas, into their 15-minute cities. They've already divided it up, and they've got bollards in place stopping you going down certain roads. But nobody's telling you any of this stuff. Anyway, peace and light from that old guy Australia. I've got to get back to work. Chooks, got Gary's Chooks down there making a racket. I'm going to go and say hello to them shortly. And look, just remember, it's always my opinion. It's not the truth, it's my truth. And I change my truth as more information comes along, like they talk about it on Inspired. If more information comes to light, you can go, okay, well, I can accept that, that's verified, let's go down that road. But until then, the rest of the stuff is superfluous. It's what people just talking shite, gobshite, for no reason. And I don't know why they're doing it. I think it gives them a sense of self-importance, or like, oh, we know something you don't know, and they're very patronising in their views and comments towards those that don't agree with them. Very patronising. Oh my God, Well, some of us are a little more awake. Oh, really? I think you're just an idiot. But that's neither here nor there. Again, my opinion. Peace and light, that old guy Australia. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button, and we'll catch you soon.